welcome to lecture 2 of this module 1, and today's lecture we are going to discuss about skills, roles and functions of management and a manager, because it is very critical that when you are started to learn about the course and principles of management, we need to understand what are the skills, roles and functions of a manager, so that you will be able to conduct your business and also to carry out the business more effective way. So in today's lecture we are going to spend more time on understanding what are the critical skills that are required from the manager. Similarly, what are the functions you as a manager or maybe as a potential manager who is going to enter a company, what are the functions are expected out from a manager so that the business are continue to survive and also flourish. And we are also trying to see what are the roles these managers play in an organization. We understand that managers are very critical part of an organization for its effective functioning of the company. So what are the different type of roles a manager plays? It is not only about I as a manager that I do this, but every manager has to perform different set of roles, and these are clubbed into different group of roles they are going to perform. So today we are going to understand what are the skills, roles these manager perform, and also some of the functions of the manager. Okay, so let us start with the skills of a management or a manager. So generally, to understand skills are generally defined as widely as a overt responses and controlled simulation, where you are exposed to have certain skills. Maybe if you talk about a hard skill about handling a machinery, or maybe a soft skill like talking to people, managing people, working in teams, negotiations, having a better conversations. So those skills can be categorized either as a generic, technical, entry level or advanced skills. Generally there are four type of skills. One is technical skill. When you talk about a technical skill, yes, you are being in an organization, it is very important to have a technical skill, because we are talking about, yes, as a manager you need to possess a technical skill. It related to concept, maybe methods or a tool specific to an organization or maybe a role you perform. So let's say you being a manager, you need to possess a technical skill that are required from an organization. Let's say you are working as a manager in a technology based organizations, you need to be really having a technical skill of handling those technology based activities, or how you are going to serve your clients or customers. So now if comes, okay, once you are having a technical skill, why it is very critical? One is to perform your job, and next is about, okay, unless otherwise you do not know or possess these technical skills, how are you going to manage your teams? Meaning that who is going to work under you or as a subordinates, how are you going to provide critical insights, feedbacks, or help them to address some of the problems they encounter during the job they are carrying out. Then comes a supervisory skill. So as once you have a technical skill, then comes a supervisory skill, because as a manager you are going to drive people to work. That is essentially a major role of a manager. Manager is not one who is going to perform, he is going to make others perform towards making an organization achieve their goals. So you should have a supervisory skill. It enables one to supervise somebody effectively, means your teams, your subordinates or people who are going to work under you, you need to supervise them effectively so that you are able to achieve the larger organization goal. Then comes an interpersonal skill. If you look at, it is going gradually from technical skill. Yes, it is very fundamental requirement. Once you have a technical skill, then of course then comes a supervisory skill. Then to conduct or even to supervise, you need to have a better interpersonal skill. What are we talking about an interpersonal skill? It will enable people to communicate and interact effectively. Unless otherwise I am not capable of having a better interpersonal skills, I may not be a good leader, I may not be a great team player, I cannot coordinate people. So it is very critical that you have a better interpersonal skills, so that you can manage conflicts, make people work under you, coordinate, bringing the teams together, and you resolve certain interpersonal conflicts that are going to arise in a team. Then comes, you should have a general business knowledge, so that you will have a better idea about, okay, how my organization, how my business behaves in this particular environment, what are my potential opportunity, what are my strategies I can bring in. I know that my competitors behaved in this way, so where I can actually compete and make a better prosperity for my company. So you should have a general business acumen as well, so that it will helps in business and support infrastructure for an organization. Okay, now so let us try to understand in detail about each of these skills we are talking about. So technical skills. So technical skills, often it is related to either a knowledge and capabilities to perform a field specific specialized task. So when I say technical skill, as I said, okay, let's say somebody is going to be working as a coder. So the moment you are hiring somebody or you're expected to be in a role of a coder, then you should have a command over a capacity, technical knowledge over about a coding. So you need to have a technical knowledge on how to write code for this particular problem that companies are expecting to solve. So then that is what we are talking about a technical skill. Let's say somebody is working in a manufacturing organizations, and so let's say you are an operational manager or maybe in charge of a shop floor. Then the moment you are in charge of a shop floor, you should have a technical knowledge about the coordination in the shop floor, creating more efficiency, optimizations. These are the technical skills one has to have, so that you'll be able to effectively coordinate work, resolve problems, and then you will be able to understand big pictures to make things work better. So let's say what are the critical components of this technology? You will have to have a coordination skill, because you should both possess intra and interpersonal organizational coordination. When I say intra, within an organization you will have multiple functional areas, let's say finance, operations, IT, marketing, HR, so many functional divisions. Probably the project divisions, you need to have a coordinations, because you might have a resource utilization, resource sharing may be there. So you should have a better coordination skill, so that you are effectively able to run the business. Then comes a problem solving skill. So it is also very critical that you possess certain problem solving skills, because as a manager you will always find there are potentially you will expect certain experience, certain conflicts, disputes in organizations. You should possess problem solving skills to amicably resolve those conflicts that doesn't result in impacting your business performance or your team performances. Then comes understanding frontline work, because when you are a manager, you know that your teams are working. Unless otherwise you do not understand what are the requirements of the frontline workers and how does it to be done, and what are the coordinations required. Unless otherwise you do not have a skill, you understand your frontline work, then you cannot be a better manager, or you cannot even help in making the team work effectively. So understanding the frontline work is also comes under the technical component skill. And then having a specialized task performance skill. Let's say as I said, niche area or a specific skill set you should have, so that you will be able to compete, you will have a competency to help your teams and also make your organization grow from one level to the next level. Okay, having discussed about the technical, so let us try to understand the supervisory skill. So when I say supervisory skill, yes, as a manager there is a requirement of maintaining a good relationship between employees and employer. So that eventually it is very critical, because it is going to impact the productivity, it is going to increase the motivation and morale of the employees. Because you as a manager, you play a critical role. Why you are playing a critical role? Because you are going to be between the management and the lower level of employees. So you act as a connecting point between the leadership of the organization and the actual performer of an organization, right? The always a frontline employees or employees at the low level are the one who's engaged in a critical task of a company. Now, so you have to have a better supervisory skill, so that you will be able to motivate people, enhance their morale, and you have to increase the productivity and efficiency for a company. So for managing this relationship, you require some of these special skills as a supervisory skill. So some of the supervisory skill, you will have conflict resolution skill. You always see that there are potential opportunities for a conflict to exist between the employees, between the teams, between different functional areas. So you need to possess certain conflict resolution skills, so that you will be effectively address this conflict arises within an organization setup. It can be between the employees in the same team, or probably between teams or between functional areas, as I was saying. Then you should also have a relationship building skill. You should be able to build a better team working environment, as we know that organizations are largely team based. Now every organization has teams, groups, working in teams and groups. Essentially you need to build the team effectiveness, so that the cohesiveness is really high and they will be able to perform for an organization. And you should also have to motivate employees, because you as a manager, you will also have to drive people towards the organizational success. So you need to have a skills to motivate employees for a better output. And you should also possess negotiation skill. Why are we talking about a negotiation skill? You always end up in a situation have to do a negotiation. It can be in terms of terms and conditions of the employment, or probably negotiation between for a resource utilization, maybe resource sharing, or probably how do we use certain things which are available. So you should have a negotiation skill, not only for negotiating with your employees and subordinates. You also have a skill of negotiating with your clients, customers you're going to interact with. Sometimes you may have to negotiate with the management on behalf of the employees as well. So negotiation skill is also very critical for a managers. Then you should also possess a change management skill. Why are we talking about a change management skill? In every organization, we see that the kind of technological advancement we are experiencing. We know that what is relevant today may not be relevant in the next coming months. So the changes are so rapid and people are experiencing several changes. When the moment changes are happening, people who are in an organization setup, they are used to the method of doing a job or carrying out a job the same way what they are doing now. The moment you want to introduce a change which is going to alter the way they are functioning, people will resist. They do not support the changes which company is proposing. You can forcibly bring in changes, but potentially it may not translate into an effective performance, or maybe you will find employees are not happy with the change they are proposing. So you should have a change management skill so that you will be able to bring in this change so well that your employees accept those change and they try to make it part of their job role, or they will internalize the change. So as a manager, you should have a change management skill so that you will be able to make change implemented more effectively, and employees also happy about bringing in the changes in the workplace. Okay, now comes moving to the next level. As we see that, as I already said, okay, technical skill, supervisory, then comes an interpersonal skill. So interpersonal skills, what is this interpersonal skill we are talking about? Interpersonal skills are behaviors or tactics a manager uses to interact with these members within an organization effectively. So any organizational settings, interpersonal skills of a manager is to ability to work well with the other employees and employers. So why we are talking about this ability to work with their teams and the employer? Because in an organizational setup, manager plays a very, very critical role. As I was saying, yes, he has to work closely with the team members, he has to work closely with the management as well. So you should have a better interpersonal skill so that you will be able to communicate and actively listen and able to have a better relationship management in a workplace. So what are the interpersonal skills of a manager that consist of? We're talking about skill of managing relationship. Yes, you will have a peer relationship, you'll have a subordinate employee relationship, you will have a manager boss relationship. There are different type of dynamics of relationship exist in an organization setup. As a manager, you should possess those skills to effectively manage those relationships, and you should also possess a listening skill. For a part of an interpersonal skill, the very important skill is a listening skill. Unless otherwise you don't pay attention. It's not about hearing, it is about listening. Hearing and listening are different. Listening is more of deeper, that you pay attention to what your communicator or sender of the message is saying, and then you should also respond to their messages. So then you should have a communication skill, both verbal and non-verbal skills, which is very critical. The way how you communicate, are you an effective communicator, that will add a lot of value for a manager. Then comes the decision making skill. Of course, what type of a decision you are going to do, are you going to evaluate against the best alternative decisions which are available on your plate, so that it is going to help everybody involved in the particular decision making situations. And learning skills, yes, as we see that the things are keep changing. As a manager, you should have a thought for always keep learning, reskilling, upskilling, cross skilling, whatever skilling we're talking about. We're talking about lateral, horizontal, vertical, all type of learning which are critical now with the given things we are seeing in an organizational situation. Okay, so these are important components of interpersonal skill. Then the last one we are going to talk about is that general business skills. Why are we talking about a general business skills? As I already said, this general business skills are related to the skills of a business manager in understanding the success by assessing what is the bottom line. When we talk about a bottom line, we are talking about a profit for a company. So now for this general business skill, you should have an understanding about skills to run, manage and control a business unit. You should have a comprehensive knowledge about how to run a business, how to conduct a business. Then you should, of course, you should have all other skills which you talked about, communication, motivation, negotiation, problem solving, marketing. It's a very comprehensive one that you should have so that you will have a better knowledge about general business acumen, which is going to help you as a manager. Okay, so now we are also going to discuss about various other people who have discussed about the skills of a managers. So Henry Fayol also identified certain skills that managers should possess. So what are those? One is a physical skill, so which is related to health, vigor, and address. Means you should be having a good health conditions so that you will be able to perform your role. So now, for example, somebody, when we join a company, you say physical fitness certificate, right? That's what he or she is referring to, right? When you join a role, that you are having a adequate physical condition fit, that you will be able to conduct or carry out the roles. So now if you look at now, as the days are changing, people are paying more attention to your cognitive skill and your emotional skill, emotional quotients, not only about intelligence quotients. So people are paying attention to other aspects of the characters of the individual as well. Of course, that's what I was talking about now, the mental skills which are related to whether a person, as a manager, you should understand, learn, make judgment and adaptability to certain conditions. And you should have a moral skills, that yes, you should relate to energy, firmness, loyalty, tact and dignity, because integrity is also part of the moral skills, because we are talking about managers are always exposed to different situations wherein you might have to make a decisions, you might have to take a moral decision, ethical decision, and manage your loyalty and integrity, which is very, very critical, because any unethical decision which is going to impact the company and it's going to cost in a huge way, right? So manager has to have a moral skills and have to act ethically. And general educations related to accountancy matter, not only belonging to your functional area, but you should have a broader knowledge about where your business operates and how it is going to grow from time to time. And then you should have a very comprehensive knowledge, not only restricted to the area where you work for. And you should also possess a special knowledge related to peculiar function, to the function being undertaken. So you should also have a very specific critical information also, or knowledge also, that is also important for a manager to have. And also experience related to knowledge arising from work. So it is very critical that what are the kind of a knowledge you are going to learn from the experiences you are facing. That you as a manager, you are carrying out several responsibilities and roles. Over the period, you will gain a lot of understanding. You will find out, at these situations I'm experiencing this kind of situations. If going forward, if I experience, how I'm going to handle. Maybe you would have failed in certain situations, or maybe some of the decisions would have backfired, then you are learning from those decisions. When the similar situation arises, you will now know that what type of a decision I should take, so that I will have a better decision making things. Then and now, as I said, now we have already seen several set of skills. Now we are going to pay attention to the third person. Ashwath has also discussed about what are the skills which a manager should have. He talked about three type of skills. If you look at if you look at, there are always overlap on all the skills we have been studying, but here it is about a more of a higher level. You talk about there are three skills, which is about a conceptual skill. This skills is referring to an ability of a manager to have a better picture about an organization, right? It's a conceptual skill. Am I able to understand the role? Am I able to understand what type of a business I do? Am I able to understand what are the requirements for to conduct this business more effectively? It's more of a conceptual understanding. Am I having a fair idea or a knowledge about what is this business about, what is this function is about, and what are the resources required, what are the infrastructure required? It's kind of a more of a conceptual understanding. The conceptual skill is very, very critical, unless otherwise you do not have this cognitive level of a skill, which is about talking about a conceptual skill. It will be very difficult for you to deliver effectively. Then comes an interpersonal skill. You will pay attention to now that yes, all people are talking about interpersonal skill, because a manager is going to manage people. The moment you have to manage people, interpersonal skills are inevitable. Unless otherwise you don't possess interpersonal skill, you will be miserably failing as a manager. So what are the interpersonal skill we are talking about? Now you are talking about the human relation skill, which enable manager to empathize. You feel from going into the other shoes and understand what do they go through, and you will be able to communicate, motivate subordinates for the better performance. So that's what key aspects of an interpersonal skill is talking about. Then comes of course a technical skill. As I said, yes, as a manager, it is not only about managing people, you should be also having a competency on the area you want to work. So that's what we are referring to a technical skills, which these are the skills which are specific skills which you have to perform the task effectively, so that you will be able to master the methods, techniques and equipment involved in a specific functions, maybe in terms of a manufacturing, or maybe in engineering, or a finance, or maybe technology based thing. Whatever it is, you should possess the technical skill, so that you will be able to master and perform well, and you will also be able to help your teams when they encounter a certain problem when carrying out their job, right? So these are the three skills which are critical. Now As we discussed about the skills, we said yes, we are going to discuss about skills, roles and functions. So now we are moving from a skills to a roles of a manager. So what are the roles? Henry Mintzberg have developed a list of roles a manager used to play. So but he has actually condensed all the varieties of the skills into 3 subcategories. What are those 3 categories? So he says there are interpersonal role, informational role and decisional role. In interpersonal role, again you have several roles. One is interpersonal role, you have figurehead, leader, liaison. I'm going to discuss in detail going forward. And on an informational role, I as a manager, I'm going to play an informational role. In that, what are the different roles I'm going to perform in an informational roles? I may be acting as a spokesperson, as a disseminator who provides information, or I may be playing a role of a monitor who pays attention to the information, right? Then the decisional roles, what are the decisional roles which I will play effectively in an organization setup? I may be playing a role of a negotiator. Yes, I wanted to talk about act as a negotiator in terms of bringing resources, or maybe with the clients, or maybe internally within internal stakeholders. And I might also play a role of a resource allocator, because I need to decide decision on how I'm going to allocate resources to different teams going to work under me, or maybe employees working under me. And also as a disturbance handler, we are referring to effectively talking about a conflict management, that yes, you will find always conflicts arising in a team, or within a team, between the teams, between functional areas. You have to act as a role of a disturbance handler, and you should also act as an entrepreneur who have a comprehensive knowledge and to perform things. Now let us pay attention to each of these roles, and we will discuss in detail now. Okay, so we'll start with an interpersonal roles of a manager. What are these interpersonal roles? As I said, all are 3 sub roles under this interpersonal. One is a figurehead. So what is this figurehead? You are representing an organization. It's related to a ceremonial or a legal or a social responsibility centric for a motivation of employees. Let's say you are a figurehead. It is a ceremonial role. You are representing the management, and you play a role of a figurehead. That yes, I am heading this place. I am trying to it's a ceremonial position that you are going to motivate employees in an organization. Then comes a leader. It relates to the manager inherently have a subordinates over whom they have to influence, because a manager also as a leader, right? You need to influence the people who are going to work under you to work effectively, right? You will act as a leader. So manager also act as a leader. Then you will also play a role of a liaison fairer. It involves connecting employees to what they need, and you need to manager make liaison through contact with the people outside of their organization, responsibility inside and out of the organizations, so that you will be able to bring in better resources for an employees to carry out their job effectively. So you will also play a liaison role. So you will play when I talk about an interpersonal role, you will play a role of a figurehead, that you will be a ceremonial role. You represent an organizations or a management group. Then you will also act as a leader, that you are trying to influence the teams and the subordinates who are working under you, and also you will play a role of a liaison fair. Then comes the informational roles. So in an informational role, the first role you play is a spokesperson. It involves a role in getting information about the organization to the public. Let's say the PRO, right? Public relations officers. You also play a role of a public relations officer. You are having an information from an organization, and you are sending out the information to the public, and also trying to control the flow of information. You always find as a company, this is how we are performing. Any company, large companies used to have their shareholders, stakeholders. Then it is a responsibility of the company to disclose information. So now the manager has to play a role of a spokesperson on behalf of the company. You are going to talk about what my company is performing, how my company is performing, what are my financial conditions, what are my strategies, what are my future plans, how I am going to place my products, what I am actually doing, right? Then comes a disseminator. You will also transmit potential informations about own organization of a manager to its goals to colleagues and teams. You will have team members, right? Under you will have to disseminate information. You might gather several informations related to role, related to organization, related to resource, related to project, and now you are playing a role of a disseminator. Yes, I process information from outside, or maybe wherever I can process it, it is critical and information required, then I'll pass on this information to my people under me. That's where the role of a disseminator comes here. Then comes the monitor. So here what you will do, you will also gather information from inside as well as the outside the organizations, and you want to convey this to employees to keep pace of work done by them. So because when you wanted to as an informational role, it is not only about sending out the information and also disseminating the information. You should also monitor what type of information I am getting. Am I getting the adequate information? Is information sufficient, or is something inconsistency I could find in informations? You also monitor inflow and outflow of the informations to your teams and employees under you. Then comes the decisional roles, the negotiator. As I was saying when I was discussing about a negotiator, yes, you will have to involve taking part in negotiations. Sometimes you talk about a distributed negotiation or integrative negotiation, that yes, you wanted to find out what type of negotiations you wanted to do, and so that you will be able to bring in benefit for your teams. Then, and you should also play a role of a resource allocator. So what are we talking about? It involves in decision on implementing, right? You have certain use of informations, and you wanted to, let's say you have resources, and thus resources has to be distributed across teams or across people, across functional domains. Then now you will have to decide, okay, how effectively I can allocate the resources. You as a manager, you need to assess and understand what are the needs and how critical those needs are, whom I should spend resources to, maybe budgetary constraints are there. Keeping all that, you will have to play a role of a resource allocator. Then comes a disturbance handler. Here it comes where you are essentially playing a conflict management handler, right? You will experience as a manager, you will have to ensure that yes, any conflict within an organization, between the teams, within the teams, has to be handled so that that doesn't cause any harm to the company's performance. Then you will also play a role of an entrepreneur, where you will involve it involves managers to create control change within an organizations. So as an entrepreneur, you will have information, you will know how to conduct the businesses, and it's a comprehensive way of conducting your business. So that's where you will also play a role of an entrepreneur in an organizational setup. Now we have discussed about skills and roles. We are going to talk about the functions of a manager. So when we talk about the functions of a management, are related to activities which is going to help in value addition, and also in, of course, helping an organization to realize or achieve their organizational goals and objectives. So Henry Fayol has given 5 managerial functions. So any manager will perform 5 functions. One is about planning. You will play a role of a you will have a function of a planning. So when we talk about a planning, okay, what is the thing you need to do, part of your job, maybe part of the goals. You have a larger goal for an organization, how I am going to achieve the goal, maybe planning in terms of assessing how many employees required, maybe assessing financial requirement, assessing raw material requirement, assessing whatever the planning you need to do to achieve the goals. Then comes organizing. Of course, once you've done a planning, you need to go for an organizing. Yes, you need to organize things. And commanding, yes, it is very critical that you need to give order and command people so that you'll be directing. So it's also about directing the people, because it's and then it's, when I talk about a commanding or a directing, it comes to the leadership role, right? You have to command the people or direct people to what they have to do. Then coordinating, then comes very important, that yes, how are you going to coordinate between the teams, between the functional domains, so that you are aligning all the functional areas to achieve the larger organization goal. Then of course controlling, yes, you need to play a role of a controlling as well, because you are as a boss, you need to control things and ensure that things are going as per the plan. So these are the 5 functions a manager generally play. And Henry Fayol also accepted the Henry Fayol's classification was accepted by Luther, and he again come up with a additional way of functions of the managers. He said, okay, so you talked about planning, only 5 functions Henry Fayol said, but he accepted the classification, but you wanted to expand more and add other functions of a manager as well. So here you will see planning, organizing, where the staffing has been introduced now. So yes, when you talk about staffing, you need to also identify right people, because that is also a role of a manager. It is not all about organizing, planning. Here he or she has to perform a role of a staffing, means effectively identifying the right people for the right job, putting a right person at the right place is also very critical. Then of course directing, coordinating, and the 2 new functions you're talking about is reporting. Yes, you as a manager, you need to report back about what has been done. And then budgeting. Yes, budgeting is very critical in any organization. So these are 8 functions where Luther Gulick was proposing about the functions of a manager. Then according to Charles and Mission, they also come up with the functions of a manager. If you look at all of them having a overlap on different functions we are talking about, because yes, effectively all the manager has to perform these functions. One is about planning and strategizing. Yes, you plan and create a strategy. So what you wanted to achieve and how you wanted to achieve that, you wanted to create it, right? Then yes, you have decided what you want to achieve and how you wanted to achieve. Then comes the organizing. So how you want to organize things, how you want to make it into a implementation stage. When it is getting implemented, you need to control that, how it is going. Is it going as planned? Is it any deviations? How I am going to correct any deviations there? And of course, leading and developing employees is also part of a functions of a manager. Okay, so let us try to understand what we are talking about, a planning. So planning is always a fundamental functions of a manager or a management, because all other functions are greatly influenced by planning process, because we know that planning is very fundamental activity. Unless otherwise you don't plan, you cannot talk about any other things going forward. So that's why planning is very important. So the importance of planning is always manifested by increasing interest evinced in planning, because in business, government or other organizations. Now comes organizing. So organizing is a process of deciding who within an organization will perform what task, because once you start the planning, then comes the organizing, where here you are going to decide who will perform what task, where the decision will be made, who is going to report to whom, and how different parts of the organization will coordinate with their activities to pursue a common goal. Because we always start with the goal. Once you have decided the goal, you need to know, decide, okay, who is going to perform and how things are going to go in a sequence. For example, you talk about creating a structure, maybe a reporting structure, or how the activity is going to be taken care, and you will have to decide, okay, so how people are going to go coordinate within the organization setup. That becomes a part of a organizing function. Then comes controlling. So the process of monitoring the performance against the goals. Yes, you already decided a goal. Then you said, okay, I have decided a goal, and you also decided who is going to perform, how it is going to be performed. Now having decided who and how, now you need to know that whether it is actually happening or not. Let's say I have decided, okay, this is how it is going to happen. Now I wanted to know, is it actually happening or not? In case if it is not going as per the plan, you need to come up with identify is there any deviations, how I am going to correct it. So you need to come up with a corrective action. That's why controlling is very important. Then comes the staffing. Staffing is an organization function where I already said, right, establishing a possible positions, identifying a right person and placing them in a right place. It is very critical at the right point in time. You should have a right person at the job. So that's what a staffing function is about. Then comes the directing. The function of directing helps manager to get employees to ensure that they are able to perform the tasks which are assigned to them. So this function involves employees to integrate the individual efforts with the interest and objectives of the enterprises. Okay. So what are the general activities are part of this directing are issuing orders and instructions, because as a manager you need to ensure that you issue order instructions so that your employees are coordinating their efforts, putting their efforts in achieving the goals, and providing, guiding them, counseling them, and supervising so the work of the subordinate to ensure that yes, they are able to conform to whatever the instructions provided to them. So this is a part of a directing role. Then comes the coordination. So coordination deals with harmonizing work relations. When I say coordination, because yes, you have several dots. Now you need to connect those dots. That's where the coordination talks about. This coordination has to go so well. Otherwise, what will happen? You will not be able to achieve the goal. So it is about harmonizing things. You need to connect and bringing in better equilibrium so that you wanted to achieve what you really wanted to achieve. Then comes reporting. So reporting is it's also an important function of a management. You need to provide information to various levels of management, because you said you have decided certain goal and you have decided how it is to be done, and you are giving them directions, controlling them. Now you need to show to the management one level up that okay, how things have been done. When I say one level up, maybe a boss and maybe a stakeholders or a shareholders, that you need to disclose how it is being done. Okay, so that's where reporting is an important function. Then comes the last one is about budgeting. So budgeting is also a function of manager. So what is that budgeting is talking about? A function of designing, implementing and operating financial resources, because that organizations, this one of the critical resources in an organization setup is a budget, right, finance. So unless otherwise you don't effectively plan the finances, you will have a great difficulty in carrying out the activities. That's why budgeting is also one of the critical functions of a manager. So today we discussed about various skills and roles and also the functions of a managers. We will be meeting in next lectures with the other aspects of the principles of management. Thank you.